All right. I'd like to call the Plaquemines Parish Council Audit Committee meeting for July 13, 2023 to order at 10 o'clock. Machines are open for roll call. Let the record reflect all three members are present. We'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next item on the agenda, please.
2, new business. A, EMS internal audit.
Mr. Duke,
Yes, sir.
I will let
Good
you.
morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Okay, we'll go through this EMS report. All right, this report was completed on June 27th, 2023. Plaquemines Parish Government, Emergency Medical Service, EMS Department, Internal Audit Report, project number 2023-03. Let us turn to page number 4. The EMS internal audit conclusions. EMS internal control improvements and deficiencies. Number 1, the EMS department personnel should be following daily written policies and procedures. Number 2, the prior public service director should not have approved the EMS manager's work arrangement with Nunez Community College. The EMS department's salaries and wages may be overstated. The EMS department assets may not be safeguarded. The EMS department is not following Civil Service Rule 9, Section 1A, the Plaquemines Parish Government Daily Normal Work Hours. The EMS department is not following Civil Service Rule 7, Service Ratings, Employee Evaluation, Section 1, Administrative 1.3. The EMS department's administrative operations are not working efficiently. Plaquemines Parish Government should fund properly staff the EMS department. The Public Service Director should hire an experienced EMS manager and a manager's assistant. The EMS manager and manager assistant job description should require that they report to the EMS office daily and work the hours in accordance with Civil Service Rule 9, Section 1A. The EMS manager and assistant should be on a time clock. The EMS department shows a high possibility of fraud, waste, and abuse. When Plaquemines Parish government employees observe that fraud, waste, and abuse may be occurring within Plaquemines Parish government, they should promptly report their concerns to top-level management and the internal auditor. Let us turn now to page 5 under findings and observations. Based upon the information provided by management, the following findings and observations were noted during the internal audit. Recommendations. In the future, Plaquemines Parish government employees should not work and receive a salary for another entity such as Nunez Community College while working and receiving a salary from Plaquemines Parish government for the same days and hours. In the future, the Public Service Director should not approve this type of work arrangement.
All right, hold on, right. Is that the end of number 1?
No, it's still a little ways.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry, I didn't.
Okay.
Go ahead, continue.
Revise the EMS manager job description to require the EMS manager work from the EMS office. The EMS manager should supervise and manage ESO employees in accordance with Civil Service Rule 9, Section 1A, and the EMS manager job description. The EMS department should hire an EMS manager assistant to help with the EMS office administration operations and the 24-hour EMS emergency calls. The EMS office personnel should be using a time clock.
All right, yeah, we're going to go finding by finding on this one. I'll let one of y'all two, y'all got comments or go ahead. All mics are live.
Who
Yeah.
approved her to work 2 jobs?
Oh, that was the prior service director, private director, the prior director. I don't know if I should mention in names, but the prior director.
Because I know, I heard that was a problem back then, and she wasn't here, she was over there.
Yeah, it's, that just shouldn't have been done. I mean, the appearance of that is just, no matter what the situation, the appearance is bad.
And when you started your audit, that's when she quit?
Yeah, it was right around that time, yeah. I mean, she decided she didn't want to deal with it, I guess.
All right.
Mr. Newsom, you got any comments on this one?
Not at the present time.
So I wanted your assessment. I want to be clear, this was prior to this administration taking over and this council taking over. But was misappropriation of funds done here with her time? Could you document misappropriation of funds being paid basically here and at the same time at Nunez?
No, we can't do that because I didn't have access
Not enough
to
support?
those records.
Okay.
I think the evidence clearly shows that something was going on.
Okay, but we don't have enough to actually
I don't think
prove
we
it.
have enough to go back and try to get the salaries from her.
Do you have Nunez's times that she worked?
No, I would, the way it's worked in the past, if I have an agreement with the entity that I can go in and audit their records, then I can do it. If I don't have that agreement, then I'm really just don't have the authority to go in and check those records. Now, what I could have done, and then, I was going to wait and go over this report with you guys. We could still, if we wanted to go that far with trying to retrieve the funds, then maybe we can call up Nunez, see if they would give us access to those records, and we could do another follow-up report on it.
Yeah, because, from my regular experience, when I'm just trying to figure out, should we self-report anything to cover our own butts? I know some of my agencies, they'll self-report when they think they have misappropriation of funds.
Well, I think that's what we're doing with this report.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're covering ourselves. And again, this was prior to this administration. I want to be very clear about that this was not this administration that approved that work arrangement. And that when this administration took over, they ended that work arrangement.
And that's the reason that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that it was the prior
Yeah, I know.
director and not the current director.
I know. I just want to
You know,
relay that to the public as much as I can, that this ended when this administration took over.
that's correct.
All right.
Radovich, you have another question?
The council can subpoena their records, right?
Yes, we could have done that too. Yes, sir. We can still do that.
If we want to do that and keep this open or do a follow-up audit to this, and I want to get to the bottom of it, basically.
Mr.
I mean-
Chairman, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, per the charter, the council has the right to go ahead and subpoena documents and everything and do an investigation on topics.
Because my issue with the whole EMS thing is this is people's lives that this service impacts. So I want to get to the complete bottom of everything. And if we might want to explore that option. We can talk offline about that, whether we want to do it, just to get to the bottom of what actually happened. Again, we know we don't have written documentation that the prior public service director approved it, correct? We do not? So I want to make sure we get to the bottom of everything, how this happened, why it happened, and do we actually have misappropriation of funds?
Exactly.
So we might explore that.
Well, that's a big problem throughout, because the school board uses a thumbprint instead of a
Right.
time clock, and that way you don't have somebody else punching your clock, your
Exactly.
card on the
Well,
time clock.
If you remember, Mr. Konovich, I did an examination on time and attendance
Yes.
a couple of years back. And one of my recommendations was for the council and management to approve a biometric system that would, make sure that everybody's working at least a 40-hour, 80-hour pay period.
Yep.
That seems like it fell through the wayside and nothing was ever done. Now, I did bring up in that report that it was fairly expensive to do. However, my research, and I believe, the school board has it in place. And when I spoke to them, they told me right off that it saved them money. Sure, it was expensive, a couple of $1 million to do it. But it saved them in the long run way over a couple of $1 million because so many people were not working and getting paid a 40-hour, 80-hour pay period.
The other thing is, do we have, well, I guess this goes back to time clocks because I'm looking at the timesheets and it says that she was working on Tuesdays and Thursdays, even though she was at Nunez at the same time. Yeah, it just has 8 hours on her timesheet. We don't know what time any of that couldn't.
Yeah, Mr.,
What about the other days? Because was the other days, did we confirm that she was here on site or through interviews or anything like that?
we could not confirm she was on site because there was no time.
You okay?
And that's, at least the time clock does provide that assurance, unless somebody else is timing in for them and timing out for them.
Well, I think
which
if we got
happens
time
all the
clock,
time.
we got go biometrics with
You have to go
thumbprints
biometrics.
or codes or something. I mean, but that's expensive, so we need to look into that. But I'm just looking at these timesheets and it's a mess.
It really is a mess. You're right.
I mean, we're working 12-hour days on one day, nothing on Fridays. I'm like, as the manager,
Well, if the timesheets show she worked and she was at Nunez and her director approved it, and the director signed that timesheet, it's payroll fraud.
That's true, too. Yeah, so.
now notice another thing
we
is
do have
none of
that.
half of these timesheets aren't even dated for her,
Yeah.
or some of them. Like, who filled them out and why aren't they dated? Working,
I'm surprised, Mr. Schultz, that those time sheets made it through payroll without being kicked back.
well, I guess there's only, yeah,
Because payroll's pretty good about examining timesheets before they pay employees.
in March. A lot of them are starting in March. Okay, what is civil service for this position, because this is a civil service position, what is the job description expectation? Are they supposed to be 40 hours a week because she is the manager, so she might have to work on Sunday, Saturday or Sunday? Is it 8 to 5 or 8 to 5 Monday through Friday? Is there anything documented?
Well, the normal work hours for every employee is between 8 o'clock to 4:30. That's what you strive for. That doesn't mean it's written in stone. When I did the report on attendance, I went and spoke to the directors as well as the parish president. First, the parish president, and I asked him about that too. And he said, "Randy, I leave the hours to the directors to make the decision how their employees are to work, whether they're supposed to report at 8 o'clock and leave at 4:30, or they can have flex time if they wanted it." So that's what he said. When I spoke with the directors, they said the same thing. Some of my employees clock in. They said that mostly those were hourly employees that clocked in. Employees that were not hourly, they did not clock in.
Okay. Okay, any other comments on finding number one? We'll talk and decide what we want to do about going a step further or not, but any other comments from?
No.
Any public comment? Okay, number two.
And number two is basically the same type of information that we're going through, but I'll go through it. Well, let me go back to number one before I leave, and we'll talk about the management response. And it states, upon arrival of the current administration, there were several deficiencies and infractions discovered within the EMS department. Most, if not all, of those deficiencies were directly related to the effectiveness of the EMS manager. EMS manager has since resigned. The current administration will not allow that situation to occur again. Steps are being taken to create a more effective and efficient EMS service.
All right, hold on, Mr. Newsom.
I do have, so I know this job has been posted in civil service, I guess. Has anybody applied?
I don't know if this job has been posted or not. It's my
It's-
understanding
think it
it's
has.
somewhat, it has?
It has been posted since Miss Rochelle left.
Okay.
So has anybody, do we have any, have we had any applicants? Jeff, do you know?
As far as I know, one.
One. Thank you.
All right,
It would be, let me just say this again, and I'm sure there are some employees that are qualified to take over that position, but if it was me, I would hire somebody outside of Plaquemines Parish to come in and revamp the EMS department. Somebody with experience. And I'm not sure if that's easy to find or hard to find. Maybe we can't find that.
Don't sound like we only have,
But that's
One
what
applicant,
yeah, and
yes.
one candidate just doesn't seem like, that's, giving you the best of the best out there, right?
is that one that applied or one that is qualified according to civil
Yes.
service, Jeff?
And that,
Because there's a difference between who applies and who gets through civil service.
yes.
As of
Approved.
right now, no applicant has passed through the,
Okay,
One applied.
well, that's why, because we have that problem.
The mic's not on.
Hold on. All right, go ahead. Sorry, Jeff.
as of now, no application has come across my desk to review.
Okay, thank you. All right. Number two, Mr. Duke.
Yes, sir. Okay, the EMS department management, finding number two. Recommendations. The EMS manager should evaluate managing EMS employees in accordance with Civil Service Rule 9, Section 1A, and EMS manager's job description under essential job functions. EMS manager, as stated previously, should be in the EMS office and work the hours in accordance with Civil Service Rule 9, Section 1A. Normal work week is Monday through Friday between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. with a 30-minute lunch period to effectively manage the EMS department. Management response evaluations will be performed within their required time restraints. Observation.
Well, any comments on this one? I think we already
comments on that?
hit on this. I jumped the gun on that one. All right, continue.
EMS employee interviews, those are rather long. I'm not going to get into them, but some of these are stating that she did a good job, she was doing the best she could. Some people are stating that she really made some serious mistakes. And these really should be taken into consideration when revamping the department. Recommendations, the Public Service Director should review the internal audit report and the employee interviews and make EMS administrative management changes and operational improvements. The former EMS manager was frequently not on, this is a management response, observation number one. And the EMS manager was frequently not on duty to perform the basic functions of the job. The current administration will not tolerate that behavior in the future. Observation number two, operating procedures should be, in effect, should be written up and followed. And that concludes my report on the EMS Medical Service Department. John?
All right. I want to go back to the page 4.
Yeah.
somewhere in here. You have EMS department's assets may not be safeguarded. What?
Yeah, I'm talking about their money, you know.
Oh, okay, the
I'm
money.
talking about the salaries and wages.
Okay. Any comments from y'all too on EMS? I mean, we all,
What do you mean by that? Salaries and wages, was it?
She was getting paid a yearly salary of about $64,000, and she wasn't in the office doing her job. So actually, she was getting paid for, plus she was working another job while she was getting paid the $64,000. So she really wasn't doing her job and getting paid for it. She wasn't doing the basic job functions to get paid $64,000 a year. That's the exposure that I see from her working a second job.
And with that, with that and letting the EMS people do what they want to do,
yeah, that's
on
what I
their
was.
off time, not even off time, they still on duty fishing.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's some of the employees, and I think I've mentioned this before, that came in for interviews, they flat out told me that during, you know, certain periods of time when they were not on the job, they were fishing.
While on duty?
Yes.
So that's the kind of stuff you're dealing with. And I'm not sure how to solve that unless you, even with a biometric system, you don't know what these folks are doing when they're driving around to one job or another. But most of the ambulances are on a GPS, so we should be tracking that.
It's a mess.
It is a mess.
I think overall, this administration, this council knows EMS needs to be looked at very seriously. It has been a problem for many years, and that is something we're looking at. This is, I don't want to say proof, but this just shows that things that go on are not acceptable, and we have to change it one way or another, whether it's
I agree with you.
policies, who we hire, what we do, all that. This can't continue the way it's going. Whatever we decide as an administration and council, this is unacceptable that we are paying somebody that, from reading the interviews and the comments, was not here. And again, this is prior to us. This is prior to this administration, but that's what was allowed, and that's what the policies basically allow. I mean, there was nothing to stop it. So we need change, revamp all of our policies. I know
Yes.
last audit committee, we had policies in place over reimbursement, and they were great. So we need to look at our policies across the board, every department, to make sure our policies and procedures are up to date to cover everything. So it's not a parish-wide thing, or all of our policies are updated, because like you said last time, Ms. Taylor and Ms. Morrell over finance, their policies are up to date and everything. So we need to look at all of our departments, especially the ones that are out in the field doing stuff. How do we correct these errors?
Let me just mention this. When I used to do some audits and had some talkings with, conversations with the legislative auditors, one of their main things that they told me was, Randy, policies and procedures, you have to have those in every single department, and they have to be followed. And that will really cut down on your fraud, waste, and abuse if you have that. And they told me that on several occasions, almost every time I met with them. And that's kind of, maybe that stuck with me, and that's the reason I always include it in every one of my reports. And they just reiterated the fact how important those controls are in running a business effectively.
Any other comments on this EMS audit before we move to the next item? All right, next item, please.
3, audits in progress, 3A baseball complex project.
I am working on that and doing some additional work on that, and hopefully we'll have that done as soon as possible.
What exactly are we looking at on this one? I know we don't have a report yet to review, but are we looking at the funding source for the bid process? What exactly are we
I am
looking
looking at
at?
a lot of different areas. I'm looking at the bid process for sure. I'm trying to get a breakdown of the funding process. I'm tracking the funding process. Those two items are very important to me.
Okay, I just want to know where we're going with this.
Along with policies and procedures
Okay,
and rules and regulations as well.
all right, next item.
B, waterworks and sewage.
Now, I've also started doing some preliminary work on that audit as well.
Okay, and, okay, I was going to ask the same thing, but wide range
Yeah,
scope on
well,
that one?
It's, policies, procedures, operational aspects,
Billing, like,
building,
rates and
especially
stuff like that?
billing,
Okay,
you know,
because I know
different
we voted to change the rates of water based on numbers. If you can work that into there to do an
yeah,
overall standpoint of how our rates were impacted in water and sewer in the special service fund, like were we in a deficit or not, all that stuff. So if you can work that into it.
yeah, well, that's good. Good stuff.
Any other comments? Next item.
4, approval of the minutes from the June 8th, 2023 meeting.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Kokrovich, second by Mr. Newsom. Machines are open. Any comment from the public? Machines are, oh wait, there are no comments. Machines are open. Passes 3-0.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Kokrovich, second by Mr. Newsom. Machines are open. And we have adjournment at 10:27. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Oh.